on the hunt for an elusive olive tree killer. Italian forestry officials inspect a grove deep in Italy's southern Apulia region. They're looking for an invisible enemy, Xylella fastidiosa, a bacteria that originated in Costa Rica but is now threatening many plant species across Europe. In nearby Caserano, another grove is facing its own chainsaw massacre as Antonio and fellow farmers take desperate measures to fight the microscopic threat to their livelihoods. Xylella destroys the tree's ability to absorb water. The dead branches must be removed urgently.
The main problem is in this area there are 25 million olive trees. Just imagine, and each spring, the insect that carries the bacteria proliferates again, each time contaminating an even larger zone. The dried up trees make the region look like it's covered in the fur of a leopard.
What can we hand down to the next generation? Once our forefathers made huge sacrifices for those olive trees to make them grow and for us. And what will we hand down to our children and grandchildren? What will we leave to them? We're going to transform the whole region into a cemetery. Yes, it will be a cemetery. When we get out of bed in the morning, we see more and more dried up olive trees. For us olive tree farmers, that's a real pain. It hurts.
The Xylella bacteria has already contaminated about 30% of the olive trees in the Salento region. But that means that 70% of the trees could still be saved. And that's why we get involved, using our agricultural know-how.
So far, southern Italy is the only place in Europe where Xylella is present. It first emerged in neighbouring Gallipoli, the epicenter of the outbreak. The disease spreads with breathtaking speed, and now it's feared it could attack other species such as cherry, almond and plum trees. In Bari, we meet an investigative journalist who's delved into the outbreak and says there's a whiff of corruption and not just rotten wood about the affair. She believes large areas are being cleared for development and speculative transactions under the pretext of disease control, with the mafia pulling the strings.
There are already specific cases into which the public prosecutor has launched investigations. There are personal links to organised crime. It's about real estate speculation.
The fight against the olive tree killer is coordinated by Commander Saletti. In the south, Xylella is endemic at this stage. A buffer zone is expected to contain the disease, but there's already been one outbreak north of the line.
We still have to finish spraying with insecticides. Of course, nobody's thinking we can completely eradicate the insects that transmit the bacteria, but by repeating all these already established preventative actions in the coming years, we'll see good results. Everyone should understand that there's only one enemy, and it's called Xylella fastidiosa.
Moving to Scorano, a small town in the deep south of Apulia, we meet Luca, who has invested 100,000 euros in a cooperative organic farm. He and his colleagues believe pesticides aren't needed to tackle the disease and successfully contested in court the orders to spray their trees.
There's a phenomenon of drying out for sure, but that always existed. Fungal infestation is responsible for this. During the past 10 years, the climate changed here in the Salento region. Unusual hot summers, unusual cold winters, much more rain than usual. Those are the causes, together with the overuse of pesticides.
Back in Bari, that view is rejected by scientists at the Institute for Sustainable Plant Protection. They're testing olive leaves that have come from the monitored zone, which was imposed by the European Commission and which stretches coast to coast across southern Italy. There are some 1,500 varieties of olive trees, and the researchers hope that among them they will find natural resistance to Xylella.
Why are the plants dying? The bacteria is interested in the water veins leading from the roots up to the leaves. Xylella plugs those veins, it clogs and blocks them.
Luca and his friends call themselves a resistance group, watching out for chainsaw-wielding teams of forestry workers. Not believing that Xylella is the olive tree killer, they oppose cutting down trees. Their area is north of the buffer zone, but several trees have already had to be chopped and some 200 more are facing the same fate.
The plan calls for a clear-out and reforestation all over this area, inside a radius of 100 meters around each contaminated plant. That means a deserted wasteland. Over there in Portugal, in France, in Spain and all around the Mediterranean, would you accept that your ground is turned into a wasteland?
Hunting the olive tree killer means going after infected insects such as the meadow spittlebug, one of the main carrier insects transmitting Xylella. To slow down the spread, many experts insist a combination of traditional farming methods, pesticides, tree cutting, is the only solution.
To sacrifice some 100 trees would save all the many other olive trees. And it would prevent the bacteria from spreading all over Italy and elsewhere in Europe.
Heading south to Palmarigi, we found a grove with some olive trees said to be over 1,000 years old. It belongs to Raffaele Cazzetta, a major olive oil producer owning 70,000 trees. His suggestion is to unite the various small holdings. Abandoned olive groves are a problem, he believes, facilitating the spread of the disease. Regrouping small farms would strengthen all in the area.
I will let you try a very special olive oil from a 1,000-year-old olive tree. This oil tells the story of our people, our identity, our culture. It's the memory of our history. There's a big fear among all of us, those who care for the olive trees. The disease creates fear.
In Oria, to the north, 77-year-old Nino will not be chopping down this olive tree, just clearing the dead wood, while other members of the Oria Resistance Committee prepare for a media invasion which is expected to come when the enforced tree clearing operation gets underway.
All of us are to blame because we abandoned the countryside. This traditional work of taking out the dead wood from the trunks was still done 40 or 50 years ago. It's not done anymore. Now it's up to me to cut out the tree's tumour. We have to give life to the tree so that the tree can give life to us.
Perché noi dobbiamo dare vita all'albero e l'albero nello stesso tempo ci dà vita a noi.
Will the traditional farming methods of cutting and burning diseased branches be enough to stop the olive tree killer? The EU is not convinced, insisting on the use of chemicals and more tree clearance to prevent further outbreaks and to stop the disease from spreading to the rest of Europe.